The following video was sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia, preserving and promoting our community's history.
Born and raised in Thessaloniki, Greece, and then immigrating here to Philadelphia to the St. George Greek Orthodox community, he's been a long-time member. Our guest today is Panagiotis Kallitsopoulos. Pete for short, as we know him in our neighborhood and in the community. Pete, welcome to Cosmos Philly.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very honored to have met both of you gentlemen, and the fact that we're in the same line of work. I, of course, started my little bad habit of photography back in the early 70s when I first picked up my little 126 cartridge camera from AGFA back then and started taking pictures from the parades and all the activities in church. And then I was so proud when I picked up my first Nichromat and went hog wild and not knowing how to take the film out of the camera at the end. But it was an adventure.
You've been shooting pictures in the community for how many years, would you say?
Since pretty much 1976 or 77.
So you've witnessed a lot of the great moments that have happened inside the Greek community.
Within the Greek community, especially here at the cathedral, a lot of things have taken place besides, of course, weddings, christenings, but making of priests and deacons, witnessing the bishops that have attended.
Let's talk about one or two of the great moments you've witnessed and photographed in the last 30 or 45 years.
With Bishop Silas being here, the making of Father George Livanos into a deacon, Father Bob, that used to be up in Annunciation Church. My goodness, the line, I mean, this can go on for, there's a lot of things that took place. I can't, at this second, I can't even begin to remember all this stuff and all the big, the bishops that I've gotten to know and that I've spent time with, the priests that became very beloved friends of mine that have taught me a lot within the faith and how to be a better person and amongst everything that I do.
There's one iconic image that comes to mind when I think of your pictures. It's Greek Independence Day in front of Independence Mall area, I think, and the Evzones are there. Yeah. Do you know the image I'm talking?
You know what? It was a pleasure for me over the years. Even as a little kid in Greece, my mom used to make me the fustanelas every year, pretty much. And then when the church asked me to represent them dressed up as cholias, it was a really nice opportunity to put it on again. Yes, I remember me putting them on and marching in the parades, being part of the Evzone team to lay the wreath at the Liberty Bell, and being a representative of this diocese in general as a Hellene.
Talk to me about that photograph we mentioned earlier. There's a shot of the Evzones with Independence Hall directly behind them. Do you remember that photograph?
If I was dressed as a cholias, I think we did the laying of the wreath after the parade, and I think there's a couple of judges. There's one of the judges that's standing behind me, and maybe the governor and the mayor, and it's funny. I used to have hair then too.
So that photograph is pretty memorable for you.
Pretty much. And then the one outside City Hall with Mayor Good.
Tell us about that image.
Well, that was well, in the 70s, all the churches would gather here at St. George Cathedral, and from here after the service, we would all march together. We would line up on 8th Street, and then we would march around Spruce, down 9th Street to Chestnut Street, and make the right and go down to Independence Hall, where we laid the wreath at the Liberty Bell. And at that time in the 70s, the bell was inside Independence Hall. With the change in times and all the congregations growing, we changed. Instead of gathering here, we all lined up on Chestnut Street. So the parade would start pretty much somewhere around 18th Street, and then we would march down Chestnut Street to Independence Hall with the Evzones. And they do, at that time, when the Evzones started coming in, is when the Liberty Bell was in the glass house at Independence Mall, which was a beautiful sight. And the Evzones would stand on either side of the bell. And that was beautiful to see as well. You know, the whole concept of the Greek independence that they represent, and the celebration that we were doing after 400 years of the Ottoman Empire. Well, anyway.
Well, tell me, that was then. Today, now 45 years later, the parade's changed a bit. How do you feel about it, and how do you feel about the fact that the Evzones were finally brought back?
It's a beautiful sight to see our soldiers and our boys. I'm very pleased that I had the opportunity, and pretty much every year that the boys were here, that I have spent pretty much every day with them to eat, drink, and dance with them, if that was the opportunity. I've become friends with them on Facebook, especially this year that they were here. They're excellent. And I have very pleasant memories of the previous years that I spent with them on an everyday basis for the week long that they were here, if that was the occasion, or the 2 or 3 days that they were here, that I had the opportunity to witness them and to talk to them and to become friends with them. You know, with changing times, you know, I haven't had the opportunity to go to Greece and actually meet up with them yet, but there's always tomorrow. Who knows?
Right. Well, tell us a little bit about your family, your background, where your parents hailed from in Greece, and how you folks came to America.
I was born and raised in Thessaloniki. I'm from Vizandio, which was part of, it was at that time, it was in the city, or pretty much the outskirts. My mom's from Kerasunda.
Okay.
Pontian Pondos, yeah.
Let's make sure some people don't know.
You know, everybody wants to be Greek in a day or two. And my dad's pretty much from up northern Thrace, Thrace. They met in Salonika in their in their 30s, and here I am. I attended Agio Eleftheriou, the church. That was the parish that we belonged to, and I also attended the grade school of St. Eleftherios that was there right next to the church. And it was really nice. I have some very fond memories of my childhood, besides climbing trees and falling down. And when I came here, I was 10 years old. Funny thing, we didn't really know, when we first came to Philly, we didn't know that St. George Cathedral was here. And we had an apartment right down on 10th Street.
Well, how did you know that you were, how did you come to Philadelphia? Who brought you, or was there a reason?
Back then, in order for somebody for one family to come over, you had to be invited over by somebody that was already here. Right, you need a sponsor. So it was, my dad was a businessman in Greece. He had a furniture store. And the people that had the candy shop next to them, they came here prior to us, and they told my parents all about it, and they sponsored us to come over. And I guess it took about a year or so, I don't remember, that it took my parents and the government to get our paperwork through, and here I am.
Do you remember, 10 years old, it must have been a very difficult time for you to parents to uproot you and say, you're going to this other place in the world?
You know what? I remember having the party out in the yard. It was like 1 or 2 days before we left, and everything is baggaged up and all the suitcases are ready. And we spent a couple of days in Athens to be ready to board the plane. It's nostalgic, yes, to remember everything that took place. If I start talking about it, I can probably remember all the things that actually took place, and how I would tell my friends, I'll come back and see you every year, like it was around the corner.
Well, growing up in Greece and growing up in the States, your world was shaped by two places. What do you value about growing up with Greece that you carry with you today?
My Hellenism, and I try to show it to everybody that I'm with. I try to bestow all the Hellenic virtues that my parents have taught me and that I have learned within my mother Greek community, which is St. George Cathedral, and all the other churches that I've attended and that I befriended. They have taught me a lot. They've taught me how to be a stronger Greek and a better Greek Orthodox Christian. The topic of how my life might have been different had I been raised in Greece versus my upbringing here in the States was discussed with a physician friend of mine, which is here, and I honored him because the education that he has that I never really got. But that's different. I had different other faults that my life, that I came across in my life that I had to tend to. Then education became second factor. And the question was, how different would have my life been had I been raised in Greece? And would I have been the same person? Absolutely not. I would have been somebody entirely different.
How so?
I would have had a different attitude and aspect in life.
And why is that? Is that because of some of the things you witnessed or experienced here?
The life that I have gotten accustomed to within the States from my first year in attending McCall School that I went there for 2 years to learn English, and that was a blessing because of Father Dimitrios Katerlis, who accidentally happened to, surprisingly enough, I don't know whether God just dropped him at the gates of the school that moment that my mom was taking me in, and he took me actually to the office and registered me. And when they says, "What's his name?" he looks at me and says, "Peter." So bang, I got rechristened. Father Katerlis was a giant blessing to me and my family. And then he introduced us, he told us where the church is, and he brought me into the altar, and alas, I'm still in there.
So let's talk about that briefly. The church and the Orthodox faith played a significant role in your life.
Absolutely. But what happened was within McCall School at that time, the early 70s, the school had children from all over the world going there to learn English. And within my classroom alone, we had, I don't know, maybe 15 different countries. So the experience of me being next to all these different cultures gave me a better and a brighter understanding in welcoming everybody. And then, of course, trying to teach them Greek that they already spoke. Everybody speaks Greek. It's amazing that I don't think that I would have witnessed that same warmth and experience in being with all those different cultures within my teenage years, to meet people from Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, Poland, to become friends with them, for them to sit next to me and give them some of their food for me to taste and to tell me what it was like. I don't think in the 70s, had I been in Greece, I wouldn't have witnessed that. I wouldn't have experienced it. Yeah, I would have had a lot of Pontian food and an unbelievable Greek Thessalonian cuisine, which is some of the best around. No offense to anybody else. However, experiencing other cultures makes you a better person, to give you a better understanding of life in general, and to bring you, to unite you on with your entire community. Philadelphia, that I got raised in, is a world of different people, and the cultures here are just unbelievable and vast. Some of my best friends that I've been raised in within the Italian community are Italians, and I mean, you know, who knows? Maybe I have some Italian in me too.
Do you keep in touch with the people that were in your early life here?
You know, it's not easy. I'm sorry to say, but some of the people from the 70s are still in Philly. There were several Greeks that I had classes with, or that was in the school with, that are still within the Philadelphia area. A lot of others have grown, you know, they're going to different places.
How many Greek families would you say approximately in the Philadelphia, South Philly area?
Within the South Philadelphia area in the 70s, there was a vast Greek community. 10th and Locust was a big corner spot of the Greeks. Without hesitation, there might have been at least 50 families within that 2 or 3 block area. In South Philadelphia in the 70s, with all the vendors, the hot dog vendors coming out, I know my dad had one, and without hesitation, I'd say there was like 40 families in South Philadelphia, and they all left, or God rest their soul, passed away. But I mean, it's down to a minimum of maybe 10 Greek families in South Philadelphia. Over the years, I have come to get to know certain families that are Italians, but they know that they are of Greek descent. And every once in a while, bless them, they do come to church, and
no kidding.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's such a pleasure to actually see them. And
are these the people you surround yourself with your daily life too?
One family in general is the Botos family, and some of the parishioners here that have been here for a long time actually knows them, and they only live a few blocks away from here. It's because of the culture and your business and what have you, they just tend to stray away. Others just keep coming back regardless. You know, there might be that one mother or the wife that just doesn't want to give it up and just keeps coming back. God bless them.
Talk to me about you. Are you married? Kids?
I'm single. My previous wife was Italian, believe it or not, that I had
kids?
Anthula with. I have 2 daughters, Maria. She's going to be a mommy next month. And Anthula is at the Culinary Institute of America up in Albany, New York. She wants to be a chef. Yeah, well, she's seen me salting things up, so she wants to throw the pepper in.
I guess you like to cook too.
She loves to cook. Me?
What about you?
Well, you know what? Some of my ventures here have been seen by several people on the grill.
Tell us about your place here at St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral. How are you involved? You've been here for a long time now, 2 generations almost.
Well, 2 generations. It's a pleasure serving the community. It was, you know, I guess recording it on film, on pictures, is one of my great attributes and donations back to the community, for whatever it's worth. The archives that I actually have, that I have recorded over the years, I have posted a lot of it on Facebook on the different albums. And it's funny, just like with you the other day, we actually went over and going back and seeing some of the people that I actually grew up with. God rest, some of them are no longer with us. You know, it's a beautiful thing, and it's funny because some of my other friends on Facebook actually go through the photo albums that I have, And every once in a while, they sent me, like, they like my pictures. What picture, you know? And I actually check it out. I say, wow, I posted that like maybe 5 years ago, you know? And I'm glad that they're there for people to see, because it's not just my family. It's something that we all share. We all took part and we all took place within this community. We all grew up together. You know, there are several pictures that we have taken in front of the church here on the steps from the early 70s with the whole congregation and the Sunday school and the choir and the priests that have been here. And I look at them and some of the faces that were on there, and you know, I mean, we all grown up now. This is 40 years ago. Some people are down in Florida. You know, some of us are grandparents or great-grandparents. It's a beautiful thing, because that's what makes us a family, just to look back and say that we're all together.
What do you really appreciate here at St. George Cathedral?
You know, it's a good question. There's a lot of things, endless amount of things that I have gotten to learn.
We'll mention a few of them then.
A few of them. Besides the priests and the people, some of the teachers, the cantors, all the yayadas, the different board of directors that were here. It's amazing the piety that people over the last 45 some years that I have been here, the piety that they have shown towards the church and towards Christ and St. George is unbelievable. It's not just the amount of monies that they have contributed to the church, but also their philanthropic ways in assisting in the festivals, in the philoptochos, and just doing anything that their body can actually offer towards the church and assisting in serving God. It's an amazing thing. And I have seen people from other parishes also come over the last years and assist us in our festivals and the caretaking of the church, which is an amazing and it's an astonishing value to add to all these brethren Hellenes that we have amongst us. In Greece, I never really had the opportunity or the chance. Well, I did, but I didn't go to church on Sundays. I was a Boy Scout back then, so my mom would give me, you know, 5 or 10 drachmas and she would take the bus, and she used to put my little outfit on, so I would go and be a little proskopas for the 2 or 3 hours.
That's really rare. We've never spoken to anyone that was actually a Boy Scout in Greece and a Boy Scout here in the United States.
Actually, I was a Boy Scout here. There used to be a troop at 9th and South back in the early 70s, and I was with them for a couple of years, and that was at the duration that I was also learning English, and it was a very nice opportunity to be with American kids, to do the American thing. And I mean, Boy Scouts is...
Were they different, the two?
Were they different? Well, yes. It was... with the Boy Scouts here, it was actually my first camp out. You know, we went upstate here and we stayed for the weekend and jump in the lake and have campfires and songs. You know, it's... For somebody that's here for the first year and knows very little English, to accommodate himself with all these kids and try to get along with them, and pretty much more with hand signals and notions, that's how we got around and how we learned things.
Well, let me ask you this now.
Unless my dad had a hot dog business. And he only hot dog, soda, pretzels, mustard, and ketchup, and he got along and bought a house.
All right, it's obvious you observe traditions, and even though we spoke in Greek, I'm curious to know how far or how much of traditional Greek life you celebrate or go through during your day-to-day life.
I try to be as Greek as I can. Hellenism is within me, even though United States has become my second mother country. I'll always be a Hellene. I was born and raised that way. I speak the Hellenic language, and within my faith, you know, that's what's in my heart.
You try and speak Greek as often as you can to people?
As often as I can.
And religious practices?
Religious practices, attending services at here at the cathedral and assisting the priest, Father Ambrosios, or any of the other previous priests that were here was a pleasure for me. I've become very good friends with all the priests, and it was quite an experience because the priests are our friends. They're people that we actually look up to, not necessarily because of God, but it's spiritual and it's a mental, it's an easier state of mind. The priests, you know, over Hellenic years, they were the ones that maintained the Greek language and the catacombs, that they taught the kids, that they've done things. You know, they carry a very big stone. They carry a large cross on their shoulders in maintaining Hellenism and Christianity, and try to make people understand what's going on. I witnessed it, and I've learned from it. St. George and the other churches in our community have shown the same thing in attending and visiting the other churches. All the people within our Hellenic society are tremendous. You know, we have businesses all over the world. We're one of the biggest supporters in everything that we do. However, St. George Cathedral is the cornerstone of Greek Orthodoxy in our tri-state area. This is the cathedral. It's the biggest church in our area. It has a lot of historical value. It was built in the late 1800s.
1822, I think, is the date we saw.
Right, and it's a beautiful church inside and out. Yes, the Parthenon on 8th Street. I mean, we have done so many things in this church. The dances that have taken place in our hall by the Hiotico Society, by the Pirotes, and I'm sorry, everybody else that I can't think of. I know the temple students had parties here over the years. It's just unbelievable, you know.
Well, the church is nearing its 200th anniversary as a physical structure, and I think 100 years as a Greek Orthodox church. Looking back on these 96, almost 100 years, what do you think the future? What do you think the future is for this community, and what would you like to see?
I would like to see more parishioners. It's amazing how most of the people that are attending other churches within our tri-state grew up here, and because of the way things have turned out to be with parking being so limited, you know, if you want to go to church, you come back down to St. George, and you know, you visit your old roots.
What's your favorite time of year to participate in the services at the church?
Oh, every Sunday is beautiful. You know, the liturgy might be the same every Sunday. I try to learn something new about it every Sunday, even though it's in the archaic Greek and not a lot of us might understand it. But if you sit and think about it, it's a beautiful service. Regardless of how many times we repeat it every Sunday, after Sunday, you know, it's what we grew up into. And it's the one liturgy that has maintained the steadfastness and the same way of doing our service since it was written. So let's get it on. Bring it all down. Come and witness the service.
You still live in the same house that you guys settled in?
I live in walking distance from here, yes. I live at 10th and Christian. I have a little sign over my door that says Greek Corner. Yes. I'm at the outskirts of Bella Vista in Philadelphia, and it's like I'm the cornerstone over there. You know, several people have stopped me in the Greeks, Hellenes, and told me that they like the idea that they drive or walk by and see that Hellenic Corner exists in South Philly.
So in some sense, growing up in Greece and living here, you still have that same sort of hometown community feel that's always been with you.
Absolutely. You know, I was welcomed by everybody within my community and the neighborhood, and everybody knows me. They don't say, you know, we don't want the Greeks around. They're all Italians around there. I've seen a lot of them come and go. Some pass away, God rest their soul. But, you know, it's a beautiful community. And Philadelphia is a beautiful city, and it's filled with an unbelievable plethora of beauty and love that we share with each other.
One final question. Is there a famous motto or thought you'd like to share with us, something that represents who you are?
You know, the conversation that we had earlier was about how our teachers in our previous years taught us different things. Yeah, the one thing that not Socrates but Plato mentioned was "Gnoti safton," know thyself. Everybody has their limitations. You know, God bless us all. I think we should just embrace each other and love the fact of who we are and what we are and the purpose that we have for each other and for our own lives.
Pete, thank you for speaking with us today, and I want to wish you the very best.
It's a pleasure knowing both of you. You're my brothers in Christ and in real life. God bless you both.
Thank you.
For more information about sponsoring or viewing the interview series, visit the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia online at gahsp.org.